I'm Dana. I'm the second daughter, and what a blessing it is to be here today, just to see all of you here to come and honor our dad, and we're just so blessed to be here. Well, they asked me to share a few words about his ministry, and as you know, he had 3 churches: Hill City, Kansas, and Boise, Idaho, and Reedsport, Oregon, and so my best memories are Boise, so let me just talk a little bit about that. First of all, we were so blessed to be raised in a pastor's family. As I reflect back on his ministry, his pastoral ministry, there's 2 words that come to mind, and the first one is friendship. In all 3 churches where Mom and Dad pastored, they developed long and lasting friendships with the members in their congregation, and you're here. Dad wasn't only their pastor or their counselor and their teacher, but he was their friend. And what a blessing as a parishioner to think that your pastor is your friend. And the other word that comes to mind is the activities that Dad would plan. Every summer in Boise, when we were little, growing up, on the very first day of Vacation Bible School, all the kids in the church and Dad, we'd all dress up and decorate all of our bicycles, and we would go up and down the streets around the church in Boise, Idaho, and that was our announcement that Vacation Bible School was starting up. And we'd invite all the kids, and he'd be right in the front, dressed up, and leading the parade. And we had wonderful Vacation Bible studies that he would plan. Every Christmas in Boise, Dad would create a live nativity scene. Now a lot of churches have them, but back in the 50s they weren't so common. And he had a live nativity scene out in front of the Boise church. And of course he wanted live animals, so we would get in the car and he would take the back seat out of the car and go out and load up the back of the car with hay, straw, sheep, and goats in the back of the car and take them into the live nativity scene. But it was a huge, huge success. Cars would come by the hundreds and see our live nativity scene in Boise. One year he led a thing called Pastor's Class, and that's when all the youth could get together and come in and just listen to Dad talk and preach to us and lead us in the Word. And one session I'll never forget, he taught us about the attributes of God. And my whole life I can still hear him telling us about the omnipotence and all of the attributes of God. And he made us memorize Scripture. And one week we had to memorize the first 12 verses of John 1 through 12. And probably none of us have ever forgotten it. And then one summer, the prize for having perfect attendance in Sunday school was you got to go to the Grand Canyon trip. And so we loaded up and headed to the Grand Canyon. That was all the youth who qualified. And there again was Dad leading the pack with his backpack and all of his food and everything, and leading us down to the trip in the Grand Canyon. One of the most, and I know there were just hundreds and hundreds of other activities we planned, but those were the ones that I could remember. And then just one last thought. Dad believed in giving spankings to his children. And I thought it was just Robin and I, but I think Greg and Mark got spanked. And one night, I'll never forget, the youth group was all sitting in the back. We had a great youth group in Boise, Idaho. We were all sitting in the back, and Mom was sitting over here by the piano. She had just finished playing, and we were kind of horsing around a little bit, as the youth would do. I don't know what we were doing to be disruptive, really. But Dad stopped his sermon, stared back at us, and said, "Dana, go sit with your mother." And I knew I was going to get a spanking that night. And then, of course, we all remember him saying, as before he'd spank us, with tears flowing down his cheeks, he would say, "I love you, and I'm doing this because I love you, and this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you." There's famous words before he gave us our spanking. So, and I know it did. I know it hurt him. I know it hurt him to discipline us because of the godly man that he was, the Lord placed it in his heart to raise us in the ways of the Lord. And I just thank him for that, Dad. I thank you for being a pastor, a friend, leading us in those activities, and being a loving, godly dad who raised us in the teachings and how to enjoy life, but still with a godly knowledge that he was raising us the right way. I just thank him for that.
Amen.